Hey guys, happy Sunday! I was watching the latest video from Barry Scarborough, and honestly what made me click on it was the screenshot for the video, which was like a picture of zombies. And so I watched the whole video, and at the end, hint hint, it gets really juicy where he talks about a couple of the recent dreams that God's given him. One being that of zombies, and he's like underground, and there's like all these lines of obviously zombified people, and they're calling out to him to join them. And that was pretty much it for that dream, but he kind of interpreted it as the zombies being metaphorical, where they're still people that are like dead in their sins and not alive in Christ yet. And I can definitely see how he would come to that conclusion. But I have another take on it. I have had an interest in the whole zombie thing for a long time. I've really cleaned up what I'm watching nowadays, but I used to be really into like the zombie movies and shows. I don't know why. I just did. And there's so many, right? And now looking back, I think a huge part of that is this predictive programming. Because as crazy as it sounds, I literally think that there will be some sort of zombie apocalypse that is going to happen. And I'm going to explain why a little bit, and also give you guys a dream that I had a few months ago. And I am not going to claim that this dream was from the Lord. It was just a dream that I had. And you can read into it what you will. I will say that normally my dreams are very scattered, and I'll only remember snippets or impressions from them. But this was a dream that I remembered the whole thing, although it was short. It made quite an impression on me. And I will just tell you the dream. I was in a huge wave pool at like an outdoor setting, at like a water park. And this wave pool was huge, and like the waves are coming. And normally I'd be into that kind of thing. I mean, especially when I was a kid. I'm from the Midwest. I grew up going to water parks and Wisconsin Dells or whatever. Now, and as an adult, I'm a little bit, but so anyways, I'm in this huge water park and are in this huge wave pool. But I am finding that there are just too many people in this pool, like to the point where it's physically uncomfortable. Everyone is just crammed into this pool, and I'm like in the middle, and I'm starting to feel a little claustrophobic and overwhelmed. So I'm like, I need to get out of here. This is nuts. So I am like making my way, kind of fighting my way to the edge of the pool, just this kind of growing sense of doom, impending doom, I was like, I gotta get out of here. And so I get out of the wave pool, and I go into a building that almost resembled a house. And I don't remember a whole lot of that, but I mean, I should have written this down when I had the dream, but I didn't. But for some reason, I decide that I don't want to be in this building anymore. So I go back to the front door, and I open the front door, and as soon as I open the front door, there are just zombies everywhere trying to get in, and coming for me. And I am aware that in just a moment's time, all of the people out there have been turned into zombies. And I am like fighting my way through these kind of slow, dumb zombies. And I climb onto a structure, but it's like, like a little utility shed that's not very high. That's why I'm able to climb up on it. But they're still grasping for my ankles, and their hands are like able to touch me. And there's a tree overhead, and I'm trying to like grab onto this branch and trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. And, obviously have a sense of panic. And then I wake up. And I mean, you can read into that whatever you will. I'm not going to claim it was from God or that it was like anything, that I'm not going to claim it was meaningful. I just feel like for me, it was a piece of the puzzle. And you guys know I'm really into dreams, which I think is biblical. Obviously not every dream, but in Acts and oh my gosh, now I can't think of it. But definitely in the book of Acts, God said in the last days, I'm going to pour out my spirit, and there's going to be this increase of dreams and visions. And I think that's happened, not just even to believers. I came across this video, which I will link below, where a news station actually covered something that was even remotely critical about the jibber jab that just recently came on the market that changes your DNA and da da da. And it was about people getting it, and one of the side effects being that they were having unusual dreams or nightmares. And that really piqued my interest because I do know that we are primarily spirits, right? We are spirits in a body. We have an eternal spirit. We perceive things in the spiritual realm. Even unbelievers can sense things and know things. And so I read all of the comments under this video, and there were a lot. And there were so many people who had gotten the shot and immediately started having like terrifying demonic nightmares. And a lot of people were like, had this feeling of like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And have I taken the mark of the beast type of thing? This is just like a secular crowd of people coming to these conclusions. So grasping the spiritual reality of these, and I know it's not the mark of the beast. Like, I am not down on you if you've taken it. I would definitely pray for God to heal you and seal you in the blood of Christ, because it's not the mark of the beast yet. But I do think that it is a component of what's to come, which is all tied into this transhumanism agenda. They're trying to cheat death. And I think that in a sense they will, but it's going to be in this horrific, satanic way. And there are some Bible verses that allude to this. Like in Revelation chapter 9, verse 6, it says, during those days, speaking of the times of the tribulation, people will seek death, but will not find it. They will long to die, but death will elude them. So you can say that it's some sort of judgment on God to prolong people's lives, or you could say that maybe because of some foreign technology, some gene editing tech that they've had injected into their bodies, they will physically not be able to die. We don't know. We don't know. It's just a theory. But also in Zechariah 14:12, it says, this is the plague with which the Lord will strike all the nations that fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh will rot while they are still standing on their feet. Their eyes will rot in their sockets, and their tongues will rot in their mouths. So we're basically describing the undead, and if this isn't describing zombies, I don't know literally what else it could be describing. They are going to be rotting and decaying and basically dead while they are still standing, while they are animated. And there is some, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole with weird, freaky things that are going on following this, There are some channels, or at least one for sure, where they're going to graveyards and with a Bluetooth reader looking for Bluetooth signals and going over freshly dug graves from 2021 onwards, and the bodies within these graves are emitting a Bluetooth signal. And I mean, you can take it with a grain of salt. I don't know. And I've seen a video of someone sitting in an outdoor cafe and they're searching for Bluetooth on their phone, and allegedly all the people around them are showing up as having a Bluetooth number. And it's so far out there. It's really on the fringe, and I'm just saying this as a possibility that we all, if you've been watching this at all, we all know there's been something super weird and shady about this from the very beginning. We know this whole thing was created, right? It was in a lab. It was gain of function. There was funds from Lord Fauci. This whole thing was orchestrated, and maybe the end goal of this was to get something into the arms of people, some sort of new technology that no way in HELL was going to pass any sort of thorough safety trial. So they manufactured the emergency, and that served multiple purposes. That is, it's crippling the economy. It's really killing our spirits, right? We were subjected to so much fear porn and, forced to mask, which has psychological consequences in and of itself. I mean, this whole thing was just so destructive. And I mean, suicides escalated. You could go on and on and on about how really evil this whole thing was all along. And they created this rush and fear and the impetus, the social pressure, and then later bribes, and then the threat of losing your livelihood or inability to travel, pressure from family members to get this thing. And for what? Now we know it doesn't prevent infection or transmission. And if you're able to find some numbers, you're going to have to go to Substack, because all the search engines are heavily censoring this information. But it is showing that the more doses of this you have, the more likely you are to get really, really sick and die. So it is not only not working, but it is wiping out immune systems. It is causing all sorts of problems. I mean, I could go on and on. They did not do this for our health. I mean, you would have to be living in a fairyland to think that they have our best interest at heart at this point. But I'm thinking, okay, we obviously know this isn't about stopping the health thing, right? The lab flu. You could just say, well, it's Depop. They think that humanity is a curse on the earth. And you know what? You could be right. It could be like a two birds, one stone thing. Depop, sure. But I think there's more to it. I think that there is a spiritual element to what is actually in these things. And there have been scientists that have obtained vials and studied this under a microscope, broken it down in their own laboratories. These things are mostly graphene oxide, and they are forming these bizarre rubbery clots and drawing tin, aluminum, and sodium into these unnatural clots, and those are all conductive. So you could say, well, why are they trying to make people conductive? Receivers. I don't know. I'm just saying it's really not that far out of the realm of possibility. And in this case, I really do believe that it's an instance of the truth is stranger than fiction. And I also was watching some stuff with the bizarre things that are going on in the atmosphere. And again, years leading up to this, reading through Revelation, reading that there was going to be these signs in the sun, moon, and stars, I always assumed it would be, completely God's doing. I never would have thought that so much of this would have been our own doing. The elites who I truly believe are cooperating, getting their marching orders from the Nephilim, from these demonic spirits, and that are caring about all these plans. We're marching us towards the end. And I think that, this and the thing leading up to that was huge, 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 huge in what they are trying to accomplish. And the weird things we're seeing in the skies, like, I know it sounds crazy, do your own research, but people all around the world are reporting seeing two light sources in the sky, like the sun, and then like on the other side of the sky, another sun. And then there's this one channel, I'll link it below. It's just called Final Days. This woman gets this public access footage from just weather cameras, and they're just fixed cameras that are capturing bizarre things in the sky, like planets, the fake sun, all sorts of weird things. And just today, I sent this to a friend who lives in Colorado. There was this picture of this big moon-looking planet on a weather cam from Colorado, and I'm like, okay, so again, this sounds a little bit out there, but this could be some sort of Nephilim alien planet where they have their base of operations. Because the restrainer's still here, they're being held right outside the atmosphere with some sort of cloaking technology. So we're just occasionally getting glimpses of what's really up there. And maybe all these abductions over the years have been for the purpose of obviously experimenting on people. But I saw another video today where someone had had a near-death experience, and they saw this planet where there were Nephilim-like entities. They were 8 feet tall. And they had captive human beings, obviously people had been abducted, and they were experimenting on them with injections. And one of the captive people, a woman, she got an injection and immediately turned into like a rabid zombie-like creature. And that really got this whole ball rolling for me. It's just all these pieces coming together. And I know, guys, it's so far out there. I just recommend that you pray, do your own research. We know things are getting real. We see all the signs of the tribulation just right on the horizon. And I do want to encourage you guys. I feel like maybe yesterday I was like a little bit too much of a wet blanket. I am really excited. I was wrong. The Feast of Trumpets doesn't even start until tomorrow, I believe. I guess I was thinking it was associated with the new moon, which was last night. But so we still have this 2-day window of like really high watch, and I don't want you guys to be discouraged. I am still really excited. I honestly don't even think I'll be disappointed if it doesn't happen in the next couple days, because I still know we are so close. And another cool thing I saw, I'll try to link this video below if I remember, but another woman had a rapture dream where she saw 4 moons really close, and later she looked them up, realized what she had seen was 4 moons of Jupiter that are called the Galilean moons. And in her rapture dream, she just got the impression that they were really, really close. And she did some research, found out that what she saw was those moons of Jupiter, the Galilean moons, and also that on the 26th, tomorrow, Jupiter is going to be the closest it's been to Earth in 70 years. And so those moons actually will be quite close. And I know, like, every night I look out my window at an evening time and I see Jupiter. It's like right there. It's like the brightest star in the sky. So I've been keeping an eye on that too. And I just thought that was a really cool confirmation, just yet another convergence. And God really does use these signs in the heavens, the moons, the stars. He created them, right? Like when Jesus was born, he showed the wise men, what was happening, and the Star of Bethlehem guided them to just the baby Lord Jesus Christ. And so he's still using those as signs. And I wanted to share something really personal, a couple details. I talk a lot about my daughter Shiloh and all the significance of her life and her passing. And I thought I would share a couple pictures, and because I am so not tech savvy, I'm gonna share pictures of pictures, like literal pictures, because I'm sorry, that's the best I can do. But when I was pregnant with her really early on, going in for one of my first doctor's appointments, they couldn't find her heartbeat. And they said, come back in a week, we'll try again. And basically, if they couldn't find a heartbeat at that point, it would have been a sign that she had, perished. It had been a spontaneous miscarriage. And so, I prayed so hard, and I got everyone praying. And when I went in, they did find her heartbeat. And looking back, I feel like that was God's grace, just giving us 7 years with this beautiful child. And her whole life felt very symbolic to me when I was pregnant with her. In my last trimester, she was like wedged down in my hips, and I had so much pressure down there. It hurt to walk. My hips hurt really bad. And so I just spent so much time sitting on the couch and in prayer and in worship. I was so close to God, and I prayed over her all the time and dedicated her to God. And I swear that child was born filled with the Holy Spirit. I mean, she was just a joyful baby, just always smiling, so lovable, and just I always loved Jesus. I never, later on, I was like, was there ever a moment where she put her faith in him? I don't remember, but she just seemed to always believe and have this abundance of childlike faith. And in the month or so before she died, she was telling us more and more that she wanted to be 7 forever, wanted to be 7 in heaven. And she was getting more quiet and introspective. And I really think that it was the Holy Spirit preparing her to go home. And, following that, months later, my husband had one of those Facebook memories pop up from, a few years before she died. I guess this would have been, the following year, the day of her death, February 7th, he had a Facebook memory from years before, which he just said, I don't know why, but I feel like this day is special for some reason. And that was just one of many signs that this was Shiloh's going home day. This was the best day of her life, this celebration of this little child of God getting to go home and be with her Jesus. And I back in the days, I'm gonna share this picture. This picture was from August 21st of 2017, and that day we had a huge solar eclipse, and we went out for a walk, and the light that day was unlike anything I'd ever seen. The lighting was just surreal. It had like this golden quality to it, almost like heaven. And I always felt like this picture was special, and you can see a little bit, there's the sun in the background, and it was like I was trying to hold my daughter, and she was pulling away from me, like she was going into the light. And after she passed, I thought about the significance of that, what that would mean for me spiritually, that I wouldn't have let her go. But she pulled away from me and went into the light, and that was her destiny. That was her going home. And I do think that she had a choice, like so many people do. And she just didn't want to come back. And I don't blame her. I want to share a couple other pictures because I talk so much about her. This was my Shiloh. Sorry guys, I know it's horrible quality, but that was the Christmas before she passed, and she passed in February. And this was her on her very last day. You can see she had won Student of the Month that day, and all of her teachers said that it was like one of her best days she'd ever had at school. She won this award in front of everybody, and she just had a wonderful day. And I just feel like it was just God giving her this wonderful send-off before he was going to take her home. And also, so much of my own rapture watching has been because God gave me this hope that it wasn't going to be long. I would just have to hold on, and all of this time of fullness would come, the time of his fullness, and we're so close, guys. And I've only just seen more and more signs, and I'm so excited. And I know a lot of us, we've lost loved ones, and we miss them terribly, but they are cheering us on the other side. And guys, we can finish strong. And no matter what craziness the demonically inspired elites are planning, we know we have a ginormous party waiting for us, the feast. And everything that our hearts have ever longed for, we're going to find our fulfillment. And in an instant, we will know that everything was worth it. Every time we persevered, every time we chose to trust him, every time we denied our flesh and chose to walk in the Spirit, it will all be worth it. So guys, just hold on. And if you've had any interesting dreams of your own, let me know in the comments. Obviously, I'm super into them. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I love you. Bye.